You're recording and I'm am I recording? Now I'm recording. Okay. Hi, I'm Sue Scher, and I'm one of the co-chairs along with Bonnie and Linda Palick of the Tuxedo Citizen Services Advisory Committee. Somehow keep changing the words, names of the words, but I'd like to welcome you to the October 2023 meeting of the Advisory Committee. Just so that you know, we were created in March 2023 as an outcome of the survey of the needs of Tuxedo seniors, which was presented to the town board in February of 2023. A committee of approximately 15 people from all sections of town began meeting to do further research related to the questions raised by the survey. Several of our members are here today, either in person or on Zoom. Members chose, as part of our group, members chose areas of interest to them to help us learn more about the services that are provided in the area. Welcome.
So sorry, we went to the wrong location.
Oh,
Glad you're
you
here.
thought we were in the library, huh? Okay.
We can read carefully.
In addition, we met with the chief of police, the director of recreation, and the deputy director of the Orange County Office of Aging. As we thought about the services we might provide in town, we recognized that as volunteer citizens, it would be difficult to provide the wide range of services needed. We continue to look further into organizations that presently provide many of the needs we identified. Why should we reinvent the wheel? We therefore asked Orange County Jewish Family Services to come and talk with the group. Some of their services are provided by citizen volunteers, others by professionals. Some towns contract with them for services. We also decided to open our meeting to some town officials, and Maria May and Jay Reichgart are here, and to citizens as large, and that's a lot of you are here, and we welcome you. So that's why we're here today, to hear Paula Blumenthal. You're the Director of Outreach?
I am the outreach coordinator. Yes.
Okay, of the Orange County Jewish Family Services, to tell us about what they do.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that, Sue. And thank you for having me today. And thank you to your council members who are taking an active role in providing services for our seniors. In Orange County, as you are living here, you know, we are an older community. Our community is aging, and Orange County Office for the Aging is actively focusing on the needs of the community and answering that need with services, and partnering with agencies like JFS in order to provide some of those necessary services. So my role as the outreach coordinator for JFS is to be out in the community, connect in communities where there is need. So when Sue connected with me last year about needing supports in what types of supports, trying to figure out what was available, what the needs are in Tuxedo, and how can we get them here, it was a perfect match. So we have been partnering with several towns in Orange County specifically to provide some of our services a little more targeted. So I'm going to talk about that partnership and what that means in just a little while. But first I wanted to share with you about the specific services that JFS provides. When you hear the name Jewish Family Service, many people immediately think, okay, this is a Jewish agency. They're providing services through Jewish people to Jewish people. And that is very far from the truth. What we do, number one, our doors are open to the entire community. We talk about that all of the time, how we are a very diverse county. Our services reach into every town in Orange County to provide the services that we offer. So we are partnered with Office for the Aging, and we also are funded partially by Jewish Federations of Orange County for some of our services. And it used to be, that we were providing services just for Jewish families, and many of our volunteers and our employees were of the Jewish faith. But what happened over the years, and we are going to be celebrating 40 years in Orange County next year. So when you think about the progression of what has happened in Orange County and the growth and the diversity that we live among, it's really important to know that we have to serve everyone, or else we wouldn't still be here. And our mission is to support those who are in need and provide them with services with dignity, hope, and strength. So our goal is to look into communities, reach out, find those in need, help them through services that are provided by professionals, as Sue shared, but also by our own community members through volunteerism. And that model has been working for 40 years. So we're very excited about the fact that we've been here that long, and we continue to thrive and support our communities here in Orange County. So some of the services, let's talk a little bit about the services that we provide through volunteerism, because this is where it's called the Friendly Visitor Program. And have you all heard of the Friendly? I know many of you have been part of some of our presentations to hear about the Friendly Visitor Program. There are 3 main services that the Friendly Visitor Service provides. One, which is you will completely understand, is transportation. Transportation to essential visits like medical appointments, like appointments with other professionals. Now, what is essential, right? Essential could be a doctor's appointment, an ongoing scheduled doctor's appointment. Essential also could mean someone getting a haircut. But where that essential comes in is what your volunteer pool is willing to do. So what we do is we train our volunteers, number one, to provide, hopefully, that transportation as the number one need in communities. Being able to get from your home to wherever it is that you're going, and then safely back again with an escort, okay? Not a taxi driver or an Uber or a Lyft. This is an escort. Volunteers escort their neighbors to their appointments. They're not going into the medical appointment. They're not acting as caregivers or healthcare proxies or anything like that, but they are providing that comfort and reassurance as they're going, because we are working with an aging population. We want to make sure that they're feeling supported. So transportation is the number one requested service by our volunteers from our community. The second is food security, getting to the grocery store or getting food from the grocery store. So our volunteers are shopping for neighbors, or they're taking the neighbor to the grocery store and, again, escorting them. Because if you think about walking, and we do this in our trainings, if you think about walking through a grocery store as with somebody who might have some level of disability, as an older adult, it can be difficult. It could range, some of the challenges, if you can think about yourself even walking through the grocery store, what are the challenges that you might face? Can you reach, right? Can you reach up high to the shelves? Can you reach down low? Can you lift, even a small case of water? Are you finding that you can't see the labels or the prices or read what the ingredients are? Are you able to walk through the grocery store, just the long aisles, without using a cart, an automatic cart? So these are some of the challenges that we face as we age and might experience some challenges going through the grocery store. So the volunteers there, again, that escort and support, or to actually just go to someone's home, get a list in a form of payment, and go to the grocery store and bring the food back and have a nice visit along the way, whether it's before or after. It's a friendly, again, that friendly visitor is consistent through everything that we do, whether it's transportation or grocery shopping. And we talk about a friendly visit, that could be a standalone support, because many of our older adults who are living independently and still living in their own homes are lonely. They're isolated. They might have family who lives close by but are busy and living their own lives and doing their own thing, and it can be lonely. So providing that socialization, providing that interaction with an hour-long visit on a weekly basis, and a couple of check-in phone calls, we call them wellness calls, just to check in and make sure that things are okay and somebody's answering the phone. And if they're not answering the phone, why not, right? If they're homebound, and we have, our goal is not to save, right? But we have experienced sometimes when we go to someone's home and the expectation is everything is going to be fine, and we find that there might be a neighbor in distress, and our volunteers have been instrumental in just being able to call 911 in those instances. It's few and far between, but the peace of mind that you're going to, as a community member, someone in your own community, someone in your own town, right here in Tuxedo, is going to call and check in on you on a regular basis. That peace of mind is wonderful. And we work in other towns with the police departments and the EMS, emergency response teams, so that there is that safety check, right? And those wellness calls are just a real, just, hey, how's everything going? Is everything okay? It really does work. The system works. So those three main support systems through the Friendly Visitor Program are provided through volunteers. They are coordinated, so we have coordinators who work specifically with our volunteers. We train, as a matter of fact, I do 99% of the volunteer training. I've been doing that for a long time, so that all of our volunteers are on the same page and we're all following the rules, because there are some boundaries. There are some boundaries in volunteering we want to maintain. We make sure, one of the main boundaries is making sure that our volunteers know that they should not give their contact information out to the neighbors that they're working with, so that all interactions are happening through JFS, through the Friendly Visitor Program, so that you're not getting, as a volunteer, the direct call for, I need help, right? Because it's really hard to say no. When you are a helper, when you are a person who wants to help, is a doer, it's really hard when somebody needs help. Nobody wants to say no. But as a volunteer, we just want to maintain those boundaries so that we're directing and making sure, and we're prioritizing what the needs are, and making sure that the volunteer who is providing the transportation is not getting caught sticking around for a visit when there might be other supports out there in the community. So our coordinators are really great at helping our volunteers say yes in the most appropriate ways, and no when we have to. And there are limits. There are limits to what our volunteers can do. We are not, as I mentioned, healthcare proxies or caregivers. We don't lift or carry our neighbors anywhere. We even provide support to, we provide easily support to neighbors who are using equipment like a wheelchair or a walker or rollator. But our volunteers our neighbors need to be able to mobilize themselves. They need to get in and out of a vehicle, in and out of their home. We might help them with the chair, we might help them with the rollator, but it is important that that neighbor can get themselves in and out. I talk about this because when people share that they want to volunteer, we're nervous, right? What's going to be asked of me? How much am I going to have to do? Am I going to be able to do it all? Bless you. Am I going to be able to do it all? So it's limited, right? And so we don't want you to get overwhelmed. We don't want you to get taken advantage of by someone who might have additional need. So our coordinators are there to support that, because there is going to be a point where our neighbors who are living independently are going to need to transition. And our other services are there to support that need. So just to wrap up our volunteerism, the training is about an hour and a half. We also do a background check on all of our volunteers, and we also will insure our volunteers while they're out volunteering. So making sure that they have liability should something happen in the course of volunteering. That also very few and far between. You know, this is a positive, feel-good volunteer experience. Are there challenges? There are challenges with everything, but our coordinators are going to go in and do a wellness check and a home check to make sure that where our neighbors are is a safe place for our volunteers to go. And so that's an important part, because you want to have, as a volunteer, peace of mind that where you're going, somebody's kind of checking in and making sure that the neighbor there is okay overall, that the situation has not progressed to where that need becomes more of a caregiver role rather than a volunteer who's helping with a specific support. So that's our volunteering. Some of our volunteers will help out with clerical. Some of our volunteers have helped out with helping out with the technology, right? If you are adept, I know I am just, you know, everybody says, oh, you have so much, like, you know what you're doing. You're really technologically advanced, and I say to myself, my gosh, you know, in comparison. So all of us have a level of technology which we're comfortable with. And so if it is a matter of, you know, setting up a computer or helping out with, getting the TV to work the right way or streaming, that kind of stuff, we have some volunteers who've helped out with that too. So there's always something. It might be a light chore that a neighbor needs in the house, something on a seasonal basis. So if it's snow removal and you know that you're a volunteer who's providing snow removal. Now, we're not going to ask seniors to go out there and clear the pathway for other seniors. I mean, we want to be as careful as possible, but we might be able to partner with your school clubs. We may be able to partner with some of your service groups for youth. If it's a scouting group or something like that, we have partnered with groups, youth organizations through other religious groups who might be able to help out. You're looking for volunteer hours. So they're like built into your community already. They're looking for volunteer opportunities, and we can provide those for them. And so we're helping our adults and we're helping our youth. So those are the volunteer supports. If you are a neighbor who is in need of a little bit more, we're going to support you with counseling services. This is therapy, whether it is counseling independently, individually. It could be in person. It is homebound counseling. So if you need somebody to come to your home, we might be able to provide you with somebody who's actually coming to the home. This is a growing program again right now because post-pandemic, pre-pandemic, we were doing some homebound counseling, and we were visiting and spending some time with somebody who needed counseling. During the pandemic, we went to virtual and telephone support, and then now we are starting to build that homebound program back again. But we also have counseling in our office, which is in Middletown, located in the town of Walk Hill. And we also have group counseling, group sessions, which are happening around the county as well. So those are, so counseling can happen. We also are, that is an insurance-based program. So some of the services are free because Office for the Aging partners with us for services for adults who are in need of that. Short-term sessions, short-term, it's not going to be forever and ever and ever, but it could be a six-week therapy relationship. And then if there needs to be a referral, we can refer, or we might even be able to continue the relationship with billing through some of the insurance companies and Medicare. So that is counseling. Case management, when a neighbor might be making some transitions in their life, it's a little bit too much for a volunteer. Maybe a volunteer can help with certain things, but our case management program is really focused support on what your needs might be. It could be a transition from your own home into an assisted living facility, or trying to locate an assisted living facility or program in the community. You know, our goal is to keep our neighbors in their homes. You know, that's the focus, right? We want to keep your neighbors in your town. Keep people in Tuxedo. We don't want our older adults to get to a point where they go, okay, I have to leave my home and I have to leave Tuxedo, right? That's a lose-lose for everybody. So our goal is to keep our neighbors in their homes or to keep them in the Tuxedo community as best as we can. That might mean that they need a home health aide in their home, and we can help with directing, helping to guide. We don't hire home health care aides, but we do help with making that referral to a home health care agency, or we have a referral list for some private home health care aides that might be available to help. And those are going to help, again, in the home, keeping that neighbor right there where they are. But when the need, again, progresses, our neighbors might need help with heat, so getting assistance for their heating. They might need assistance with food, which is SNAP. We may be transitioning from Medicare to Medicaid. And that is where our case managers come in. And we have one amazing case manager on staff who is our lead. And then we have some helpers who are working with her to support our neighbors with whatever those transitions might be. So those are the three big services that we provide for seniors in our community. We also work with the developmentally disabled population. You might have heard about a camp called Kids Connect, which is a respite program. This program has been around for about 11 years, and that program supports younger children up through whatever Office for the Aging deems as the appropriate age. It could, right now, I believe it's gone up to 22. It used to be 21, it used to be 19. As long as they'll stay in, as they're able to go to school, that's the amount of time that we will be able to support them with our respite program. And it is a 2-week respite camp. It's really set in a camp atmosphere with counselors who are one-on-one trained direct support people who are helping them to just have a really special camp experience. We did this year at the town of Walk Hill Park. So we were able to bring in about 15 young children who had that support from our staff who's trained to work with developmentally disabled children. And it could be any type of disability. Pre-pandemic, this again is we do things in our world now as pre and post, right? When we think about how things have changed in our lives. This camp was pre-pandemic. We had about 50 children who were, and we hope to get back to that level. And that camp was held at a campground, a campsite, an actual camp, a Braeside in the town of Walk Hill. So those are our all of our services, kind of in a nutshell. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Could you talk about the towns that you have contracts with and how that works?
Sure, absolutely. So we contract with several towns in Orange County. We're working, I'll give you an example, the town of Warwick, which is your neighbor to the right, to the west. We're working with the town of Warwick. The town of Warwick hired an actual coordinator to support seniors. The coordinator will do the intake process, so bring on the neighbor. There is an advisory committee who supports that program and does the outreach in the community just to really talk about the program and get volunteers to participate. They'll do some of the advertising, and really it's more grassroots marketing to organizations, shared organizations that are in the town. The town of Warwick currently has about 40 volunteers who are, not all of them are going to be active. So keep this in mind. When I talk numbers, it's who, they might help out once a week. Some of our more active volunteers are helping out once to twice a week. Some of our less active, maybe once a month. But and they support about 65 to 75 neighbors in the town of Warwick. That's one model. That model is hiring a coordinator to focus in on the needs of the town's neighbors who need the support. So that is one model. I'm going to talk about another model, which is the Friends of Seniors program out in Newburgh. We've been partnering with both of those towns for over 10 years. And the town of Newburgh they transitioned actually last year. So they had a volunteer coordinator. One of their coordinator is actually a volunteer who is dedicated to providing that coordinator services. What does the coordinator do? Again, intake, bringing neighbors who are interested in getting the services from the Friendly Visitor Program. They do the intake, home check, making sure that the home is safe, that there aren't any other services that they might need. And keep this in mind, as a coordinator, we'll go into a space to get the Friendly Visitor Program going. But if the space isn't appropriate, if the space needs support as well as the neighbor, we're going to refer to get that space more appropriate so that we can bring a friendly visitor in. As we age, things can happen. We might see a hoarding situation. There might be a safety issue. There might be a reason why that neighbor is not able to get in and out of their home. It could be something structural that needs help. One of the supports that we helped wasn't in the town of Newburgh, but the home did not. The steps were difficult, okay, to maneuver. So the neighbor was homebound because they couldn't get out of their home. So we brought in a construction crew to put a ramp in, and the ramp made it a little easier for that neighbor to get in and out. And then it was an appropriate space also for a volunteer to get in. So those are those little types of support we can do, where we go in and we do a home check and we see something that needs help, needs support, and something fixed or changed. We can make those changes, because we do have a lot of partners in the community that are helping. And a lot of times it is at a discount or even as a donation. So depending on the need, it's there. So the Friends of Seniors was a volunteer coordinator, and they transitioned to what some of our other, our town of Wallkill, for instance, our partnership with the town of Wallkill, we have an in-house coordinator that is dedicated 5 hours a week just to supporting the town of Wallkill. So they stay in our office and they focus in on the town of Wallkill coordination for about 5 hours a week. Now, a coordinator like Warwick, where it's a little bit busier, is going to put 10 to 15 hours. It's about a 10 to 15 hour position. We also have a partnership with the town of Montgomery. The town of Montgomery has also chosen the route of hiring a coordinator. That coordinator has been in place since almost the inception of the town, which is 15, I think they're at 15 years that we've been partnering with the town. It's called the Town of Montgomery Seniors Independence Project. That's the name of their program. And the coordinator there does the same thing, is hired and paid by the town for 15 hours a week. And that might have changed because some of our programs had slowed down during the pandemic. So, we're again ramping back up again. So that coordinator does all of the intake, does the matching. Our volunteers, I should have mentioned this, the volunteers are matched by the coordinator, which means that they're able to introduce the neighbor and the volunteer. So a soft kind of break the ice introduction. The volunteer that isn't just, showing up in the house going, hey, I'm here to visit. But there's a nice soft introduction by the coordinator. There was one other thing I wanted to share about that program. It'll come back to me. In the town of Blooming Grove, we have taken on we also partner with the town of Blooming Grove. In Blooming Grove, we also have a coordinator who is in-house. And many of our partners have chosen to have our coordinators in our office coordinate for them. So there are different levels of the Friendly Visitor Partnership. In the town of Cornwall, we are also providing, and the town of Woodbury is the other town. So those towns are the towns that we partner with to provide a little, and the way I see it is, we partner with the county to provide the services. But we know that when there is some leadership in that town, and there is direct support by a coordinator focused on that area, more neighbors are being supported and more volunteers are coming out and supporting because there's more of an awareness.
That's a good question. I'm sorry, the last volunteers that you were talking about, are those things that the town, I know that the old ones.
Wait, but
Oh, I'm sorry.
it's okay. I don't think we have any.
So I get, okay, so I understand that some towns have hired volunteers. What you were talking about, the in-house volunteers, those are folks in your organization?
So there are so there are no in-house and out-house volunteers. The coordinator.
Coordinators.
Yes, if the coordinator could be employed by the town or could be a volunteer from the town, right? It could be somebody who says, and I'm not really great at, I don't want to drive, I don't want to shop, but I'm really good at coordinating, and I want to act as the town coordinator, and it's a volunteer position. It's a big volunteer it really is a big volunteer job. It really is. When you say, somebody who's going to dedicate 5 to 10 hours on a minimum on a weekly basis to really handle the volume. At the beginning, it could be, just like a ramp up, but in the end, it could be overwhelming.
And your role is to train these in-town volunteers?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. We will train not only a volunteer coordinator, but if you choose as a town to hire somebody to provide the service and be the coordinator, we will train that person as well. And you're welcome. And all of our volunteers, did you have a question?
I do, but go ahead.
Okay. All of our volunteers have access to our volunteer hub. Our volunteer hub is an online volunteer portal that shows all of the opportunities that are available, listed by area and on a calendar. So for the days of the week, for instance, today, there could be 25 to 30 volunteer opportunities that are happening today. It could be a lot higher. We've done 60 rides in a day. It could be over 100 on a weekly basis that are happening all throughout Orange County. So they're able to go online. Volunteers are able to go online, see what the need is, see what fits into their schedule, so it's flexible and you have control of it. We're not telling you, okay, you're a volunteer now, you have to do this. You have the choice, what's going to work for you. And based on what your skill set is and what your personality is, and we talk about all of that in the training so that you'll be able to choose what it is that you like to do. But our coordinators, or whether they're volunteer, whether they're paid by you, they are trained by us.
So
Okay.
my question, sorry.
Yeah.
When we can have a volunteer coordinator, that would be Maria, say.
Congratulations, Maria.
There's nothing else to do.
The town could hire directly, as a town employee, someone to be a coordinator who you would then train.
Yes.
We can also, the town could also contract with Jewish Family Services for a coordinator, so that it would be your employee trained, dedicated a certain number of hours to servicing the town of Tuxedo.
Yes,
Those are the three options.
those are the three options.
Got it. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, and our, and myself and our director of our program would negotiate that and how that would work in the town. So there, because there are different levels, and it really is, you know, what we're trying to do right now is just build our volunteer pool and the awareness of the services in Tuxedo. We've been doing that since, we try to do it all the time. I know I've been doing this I've been at JFS for 12 years. My support with the Friendly Visitor Program has been, with outreach, has been about 7 or 8 years. I get lost, it's probably even more now. But I know that we had come down to Tuxedo at a previous time to try to build that awareness. And we got a couple of volunteers who were helping out, and thankfully, you know, they're still supporting. And we had held our volunteer trainings out in the field for a long time. We would pick 2 locations in Orange County. And you had said that you got trained in Newburgh, right? What is your first name? I'm sorry. Sorry. Donna. So Donna, you had gotten trained in Newburgh at some point and you traveled all the way to Newburgh to get trained. We just scheduled a volunteer training because this is our goal now. You know, our focus is to build the awareness in Tuxedo one way or the other, start to offer the services. This is like kind of a soft opening, if you want to call it that. And we're holding a training on November 9th at the library for anyone who might be interested in volunteering. It's going to be in person, 90 minutes. I'll be there to train whoever would like to start volunteering in the community.
Oh, I'm sorry, I mean, I should just.
Microphone.
I don't have to make you walk all the time. Is there a threshold in terms of numbers that you look at, or that you know, when you are working with towns, do you have a threshold number? Like, you don't have enough people to start these kind of services, or you do have enough, or?
That's a really good question, but every town in Orange County is different. You have 32,
3,700 people in
30,
town.
3,700
Less than Tuxedo.
residents. To compare that to a Warwick, for instance, Warwick is much bigger, and they knew from the beginning that they needed their own coordinator, right from the beginning. So there wasn't any question that, you know, we were gonna get out there, have the coordinator in place, and start to build. And I think when we first went out to kind of start to build the program, we had 40 volunteers who came out immediately. And we had already had a couple out there. But we had 40 people who had come and gotten trained to be volunteers immediately. Now, how long does what's the life expectancy of a volunteer? Because we don't just indefinitely volunteer our time. And we also do, kind of lose interest in what we're doing. So we do have some volunteers who've been in our program for, right now, 15 to 20 years. They've been volunteering for quite a long time. But the typical time a volunteer is going to stick with one is probably 1 to 3 years. Depending on their availability and the changes in their life, they might move away also. Recently retired volunteers for JFS, that's a pretty big population for us, is recently retired individuals who want to stay involved in their town, trying to find ways of connecting. And this is a great opportunity for a recently retired. So with 3,700 neighbors, and of course, not all, not all in need of the services, right? We might be able to just have a volunteer coordinator, help out for a little while, or we're planning on just providing the services through Orange County Office for the Aging. At a certain point, you start to realize that we need somebody to do this in our own town.
How do you,
Wait a second, sorry.
Microphone.
You can't, understand, the microphone isn't to make you louder in the room. It's to capture you on the recording and for the Zoom people at home.
Yeah.
How do you interface with the Orange County Office for the Aging? Question one. And question two, whether it's a volunteer coordinator or the town hires a coordinator, or we just do independent, as there are some people in Tuxedo receiving your services now.
Yes.
Are there any costs to the people receiving the services, other than paying for their own groceries, if somebody drives them there, that kind of thing? But are there any costs for the service?
I'll answer the second question first. There are no costs for our services through the Friendly Visitor Program at all. So this is all through Office for the Aging that provides for 60 and above. And we do not provide services for anyone under 60. So we used to have funding. We used to have funding for those who might have a disability, but might be under 60. Unfortunately, we don't have that funding right now. We are searching for funding for that to be able to provide services. If you did have your own program, you were funding your own program, you could decide to support neighbors who were under 60. You could determine where your threshold was, and because you would be paying for that service, you could decide what that threshold was, and what age we would be able to, your neighbors would need to be in order to get the services. Right now, because we are, and you asked about Office for the Aging, right now, because we partner with Office for the Aging, and our interface is so, fairly often. They refer to us, any neighbor who might need support that they get a request for, they will refer to us. We also report to them the monthly activity in the community. So every month they get a very detailed report about the exact services that are being provided in the community, who is getting the support, and how much. So there's a value to that. And we know that because they're funding our program. So we definitely want to answer those questions for them so that they know what the real need is in the community. Because if we, and our program has grown over the years. So, and their funding has grown over the years to expand into the counseling and even case management services for some. So great question. Did I answer? Okay, good. But we partner also RSVP. Our volunteers can get reimbursed for their mileage through RSVP if they're a RSVP volunteer. So anyone who is over 60 who registers as a volunteer with JFS, we offer them the opportunity to become an RSVP volunteer as well. Now they may or may not do anything for RSVP. They may not do home delivered meals or like you're doing, but they are able to request reimbursement for their mileage from the neighbor's home that they're helping to wherever it is that they're getting them to and back. And even if they're grocery shopping for them, they can, from the neighbor's home to the grocery store and back. And for this area, right, I know that might be a huge plus to get to, exactly. Yeah. And I timed it today, so it did. It took me about 13 minutes to get from the interchange there here. So, and I followed I followed the speed limit. I know you got to do that too. All right. Any other questions about the Friendly Visitor Program, our counseling services, or the case management services that we provide, or the partnerships that we have in the community? I think I covered all of them. I think I touched on all of our partners. And it's very individualized for you. We'll talk about what your needs are, and really, like our goal right now is to start to build the awareness and the awareness of the services so that those homebound individuals are getting the support that they need to stay in your town. Did you have a question that we didn't answer? Okay, good.
I mean, yes, but we'll talk about it offline.
Okay, no problem. All right, well, thank you very much.
Is there anyone who thinks, you have some flyers?
I do,
People who
I
might
do.
be interested
So-
in volunteering?
Yeah, November 9th, Thursday, November 9th, we have scheduled already with our friends at Tuxedo Park Library to use their community room to have a training. So anyone who would like to come to the training, even for informational purposes, to be just a part of, fly on the wall and hear about what our volunteers experience, please join us. I'm gonna ask if you can, I brought just a couple to get out in the community, just post them in places where you go to, and also the town clerk has a copy of this as well.
Do you have a digital copy?
I do.
Put it in our website.
Yes,
Or you
and-
can send it to us. Oh, okay.
Yep.
Good, yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely, she's our recreation.
right,
Oh,
yeah. Yes,
I
Bonnie.
have another question, because
Yes.
you mentioned earlier how some already existing volunteer groups of teenagers, like school groups,
Mhm.
Boy Scouts, might be able to be involved with snow shoveling or things like that.
Mhm.
Should we encourage I do work with the student council at the high school.
Great.
And, there are several other clubs that have the volunteer service requirements as well. Should they be encouraged to come to this training, even though their
Well,
role will not be the same?
yeah, what we would do a training specifically for teens if they were interested. This is gonna be a morning at 10 a.m. during the week, on a weekday, so they probably wouldn't be able to, students wouldn't be able to, but if there is a leader who might wanna participate, that would be great, but I would be happy to just have a conversation too. And we can talk about who I might need to contact. And if there is a service organization that you are a part of, where I can go with you and share the information that we shared today in a more concise format, we wouldn't need an hour. We would, I can do this, we can have this conversation in 15 minutes. But I can come and present to that service organization about the need for volunteers. And that really does work, because I want you to know that people who have a vested interest in their towns, who are already part of other organizations that are supporting their town, are willing to help and volunteer with the Friendly Visitor Program. So other senior programs, veterans groups, Rotaries, Kiwanis clubs, VFWs, and also those students.
In fact, within the next couple of weeks, the school system is having a program for encouraging students to volunteers, and it's an open, people from all sorts of groups in town who have needs for volunteers will be coming to meet with the students.
Oh, how
and
wonderful.
tables. So we should probably get you.
Let's
that
talk about that
name.
date, Sue.
Does anyone know what the date
Yeah.
is for that?
All right, let's find out.
It's soon.
It's great,
So,
okay.
Okay.
All right.
Do you have a generalized handout that explains all your services?
We're working, yeah, well, so this is right here, it is. So, yeah, feel free to take one. This is our rack card, which talks about all three of the services that I spoke about for seniors: the Friendly Visitor Program, case management, and counseling. So please feel free. These are also in,
We have a senior citizen meeting at 1 o'clock.
great,
And
all
I
right.
would love to have something to give to them.
You've got it. And these are also downstairs. These are also downstairs in your rack in Town Hall. They are also at the library already. And I posted a couple at the post office too. So these can go to the fire departments and the police department and wherever else. And I can get more of these for you. You're welcome. We are working on a redesign.
So it's 16th, I just forwarded you the email.
The meeting is on the 16th, the school program, the school meeting for.
October 16th.
That's Monday.
Okay, we'll take a look. All right, great. Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to present to the town of Tuxedo. This is, certainly a jewel in our county. And even though you are a little further away, we still consider your town important, and we want to make sure that your seniors are supported. So, thank you.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
And if anyone, we have the volunteer forms here. Kathleen will send some out. And I will try to get them to a bunch of Facebook pages.
Yeah.
That we have in town.
And feel free, I brought magnets for you, car magnets for everybody, that you support our seniors, and also my card in case you'd like to connect with me on any other outreach opportunities.
Sign-in sheet here.
Yeah, I signed some people's names in, but not everybody's name. I signed your name. But not yours, or yours.
So
We're done?
We're done.
All right.